Welcome to Contemporary Retirement. Contemporary Retirement is a public interest program focused on the retirement community. Every program has segments on legal, financial, and health issues affecting the retirement community. Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a major grant from the Family Heritage Trust Company.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored by Family Heritage Trust Company. The Family Heritage Trust Company is an independent bank chartered trust company established by local professionals to provide fiduciary services including fee-based investment advice, trust services, retirement planning, and tax planning. The Family Heritage Trust Company is committed to client service in our communities. For more information, call the Family Heritage Trust Company at 301-631-5900.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a grant from R. Thomas Murphy & Associates, P.C. R. Thomas Murphy & Associates is one of Franklin County's leading law firms, emphasizing estate, trust, elder law, and medical assistance planning.
Welcome to the Is It Legal feature on Contemporary Retirement. Is It Legal focuses on the legal issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Tom Murphy from the R. Thomas Murphy Law Firm with offices in Waynesboro, Chambersburg, and McConnellsburg. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Good morning.
Tom, we were talking last week a little bit about the fact that powers of attorney do not cross state lines very effectively anymore.
Well, and the reason mostly is because these banks and brokers are being trained to look at the state language, and when they don't see that language, it confuses them and usually bogs the system down.
And Maryland's requirement that you accept a Maryland power of attorney is based on using the Maryland form, which the Pennsylvania form is not, so you don't get the protections of that. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it was designed specifically for a specific form.
Absolutely, and so what you'll have is perfectly valid forms that are being rejected just because they're not used to seeing the language which they are trained to look for.
And I say to clients every day, you know, we've been fighting this battle for 25 years. Your firm and our firm has been partnering because the state line runs, you know, immediately adjacent to all of our practice areas.
Yeah.
But one of our biggest problems in this practice is lawyers. Lawyers not understanding the benefits system.
Yeah, the system is very complicated. There's not many that do it especially well, and so if they don't understand the techniques, they're not inserting them in the power of attorney documents to allow those techniques to be utilized.
So when we're representing families, most people don't realize there's two sets of rules. There's a set of rules for married couples and there's a set of rules for single people, and they have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
And that's a good point because they're often, you know, just mishmashed together, and they cherry pick one rule for a single person and a married couple. They're completely different, and they're very protective of married couples.
So unfortunately, you know, we hear this every day that if you're in a nursing home, it doesn't matter whether you're a married couple or a single person, you're going to lose everything you have because you should have done something 5 years ago, which is just absolutely not true. More than 95% of, in our office, asset transfer strategies are not engaged in until after the person is in the nursing home.
Well, and that's particularly important with married couples because we've got to figure out which married individual it is. Is it the spouse with the big IRA, or is it the other spouse with very few assets? And so that matters.
Well, we have clients every day. The stress of being a caregiver spouse can actually cause the deterioration of the spouse who is theoretically the more healthy one to occur more quickly than you might have otherwise anticipated.
Sure, and we see that every day where you might have a spouse with dementia, other serious health issues, and it just wears the caretaker down to the point where they develop all the health issues.
And so as we deal with this stuff, we talk to families every day. You need high quality documents, and we give people a filter every day that if you're talking to somebody in our office, you're talking to some other lawyer, or my friend says their lawyer says, or my lawyer says, is there a filter out there that people could use to help them understand who they should be listening to?
Yeah, a good starting point is a national organization that we belong to called the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. They then certify and basically bless the more experienced practitioners' expertise with the certified elder law designation.
And so, you know, I basically have a rule of thumb, you know, in terms of Pennsylvania and Maryland, I've not seen a high-quality elder law attorney who's not a member of that organization, which right out of the gate gives you sort of a filter. I tell clients every day, somebody saying, my friend's lawyer says, well, go on that website, NAELA, National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys.org, and see if that person is bothered to join. It's the professional organization that most high-quality elder law attorneys are a member of. And if they haven't, it becomes suspect that do they really have any idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And you know, when we get the referrals, the calls, the work, my mom lives in California, who do I talk to? Well, look on NAELA's website. They'll give you a good reference, and that way you know you're talking to someone who knows what they're doing.
And you know, while the state of Maryland does not recognize board certification, I am a board certified elder law attorney,
Absolutely.
and two of the lawyers in your office are, and that's really the gold standard.
Yeah, that's who I would send my family to, because they've had to go through the ringer and be tested and have the experience in order to practice in this area.
And continuing education, regardless.
Yeah, and you got to do it, or else you're not a certified elder law attorney.
And then unfortunately, as in our practice and your practice, we routinely practice in 6 counties, which means unfortunately, each of these counties do it different.
That's a good point, and that's frustrating to people because we have to, in many cases, customize the plan in order to adapt to the way that particular county looks at applications.
So people say, well, I went on the internet. Well, you need to understand there's 50 different states that are doing it differently, territories doing it differently, and within our states we have different counties doing it differently.
Yeah, and it's maddening, but there are answers, but you got to recognize this is not a do-it-yourself type of thing where you just get something off the internet and do this or that and it's magic.
And the risks are substantial. And the reason we say that, $10,000, $12,000 a month nursing home bill, you know, and you have a government agency that is not out there to help you deal with this stuff, and you need to protect yourself, and the stakes are very high.
Yeah, when you're going to make a $12,000 mistake, you ought to get some advice.
Per month.
Per month.
Tom, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
You're welcome.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Few things in life are as important as family. Leave your insurance worries to us. Write Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
Every life that meets its end leaves a heart for love to mend. Sister, brother, family, friends are left to carry on. When the loss seems more than you can bear, it's nice to know that we'll be there at Double Save Fiery Funeral Home. We care.
Call Ed Lowe to help put your mind at ease.
Welcome to special guest feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various issues which are of importance to the retirement community. My guest today is Marge Hartman from Hurly Auctions. Welcome to the show, Marge.
Thank you for having me, Mike. We appreciate it.
You know, Marge, there's a lot of challenges here as people are dealing with change of life. You know, oftentimes they're downsizing their house. Many times they're going from a large house to somewhat of a smaller living arrangement. Create some interesting challenges for them.
They do. And a lot of times people don't exactly know where to start. And that's what we're here for. We like to come into the house and assist them in any way that we can.
Now, what's rule number 1?
Don't throw anything away.
Don't throw anything away.
Absolutely.
And we're going to give some examples ahead in this program that people will be tempted to throw away, and it's absolutely a mistake.
Yes, absolutely. That's the one mistake that people make is they'll throw things away, and too many times we've actually gone into these dumpsters and pulled out thousands of dollars worth of items.
And part of it is that we have to understand that the millennials are now the buyers, and their approach to what we buy is not the same as what I would have bought 30 years ago for myself.
You are correct. You are absolutely correct. The way that the millennials are collecting now, it's actually a guess sometimes as what they are collecting. The things that used to be collected 10, 15, 20 years ago, they're not interested anymore.
Are you telling me I have to polish that sterling every time after I use it?
Yes, you do.
And many
Absolutely.
millennials, it can't go in the dishwasher. You know, people are quite shocked at stuff that we really viewed as incredibly valuable 30 years ago. It just doesn't bring the same values today.
And it's upsetting. I don't like to come into homes and we're the ones who have to be realistic with the family and let them know what their valuables, what they've put so much money into collecting, they just aren't what they are today.
And it cycles, you know, it goes back and forth. You know, we used to tongue-in-cheek say, certain famous basket maker, we call that kindling now.
Absolutely. Things come in and out. I mean, what was popular 20 years ago isn't popular now. What was not popular before that we used to have to get rid of because we just couldn't get anything for it is amazingly popular now.
And then there's a second rule, don't move anything. Now, what the heck does that mean?
Absolutely. You know, when you come into a house, leave it where it sits. It looks nice where it's sitting. They had it there for a reason. Even in the items in the cupboards or in the linen closets, leave it as they are. They look nice on the walls if the pictures are on the walls. If the corner cupboard is filled with glassware, leave the glassware in the cupboard.
Right, and you know, I oftentimes point out in my Frederick office, we have two big mirrors hanging on the wall parallel to each other. And I tell you, the client, do you think it's worth more hanging on the wall or leaning against the side of the wall with 10 other paintings leaning against them?
Definitely
and it's
hanging
obviously
on the
worth
wall.
hanging on the wall. And so people look at the challenge of downsizing a house or perhaps an estate liquidation, and they're overwhelmed with it, but actually your role is to come in and help them with it.
Yes. What some people look at, and they're distressed because of how much time it may take them, and they really don't have the time. Where it may take a family weeks to months to clear out a house, we can do in just a few days.
So 4 piles, there's trash, actual trash.
Correct.
There's you know, charitable contributions, personal
Yes.
effects, and this is the stuff we want to sell.
Exactly, absolutely.
We got a couple items here. Now, this is a beat up old beer can, Clint, our cameraman here, from 1979, so it's not that old.
It is not that old.
And it's just a commemorative beer can that was produced. It still has the top on it, but someone drained the beer out of it. Now, this is obviously trash, right?
Most people would consider that trash. Absolutely. It's a beer can. I know I would have thrown it out had I not known. But what's unique about this item is it's a 100th anniversary. It is a local piece. It's a Waynesboro local fire department that this beer distributor had created this can for.
And
So,
what might it bring?
well, I'm going to give you some numbers, Michael, as far as what do you think it might bring? Would it bring under $50 or over $50?
Well, under 50.
A lot of people would think that, but it would actually bring over $50.
Wow.
Yes.
All right, now we have a piece here that used to be quite popular. And what's this called?
Yes, that's a carnival glass bowl. Yeah.
And so today, valuable or not valuable?
Not valuable.
So it had a previous time that it was?
About 10, 15, 20 years ago, we might be able to get, you know, $50 to $75 to $100 for it.
Now, we watch on some of these TV shows and we'll see, you know, pristine examples of a 10 railroad car, and people would be talking about pristine and max value and so forth. This thing obviously got a lot of use.
Yes, it did.
It got
Yes,
a
it
lot
did.
of use. And it looks like it is really on its last days, but it's still all here.
And there are several pieces to this, so
Right.
it's really a nice piece, but it's a vintage tin rail car train.
Right.
And what do you think it would bring? I'll give you some numbers. Below 20 or above 20?
Okay, I'm going to say above 20.
Okay, it is above 20. It's actually above 50. Yeah, the trains would actually bring close to $100.
Marge, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the show.
I
Lots
appreciate
of fun.
it. Thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you. Hurly Auctions. HurlyAuctions.com, right?
Yes,
Right.
www.hurlyauctions.com.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Tranquility at Fredericktown Assisted Living and Memory Care provides a warm, home-like atmosphere that promotes daily life enrichment. At Tranquility, our medical director is a geriatric physician. Our professionals support and understand the various stages associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have on-site physical, occupational, and speech therapists, as well as around-the-clock licensed nurses. For more information, give Tranquility at Fredericktown a call today, because everyone deserves great care. Let us do the caregiving so you and your loved one can embrace life again.
Guys, I thought you were supposed to be working in the yard.
But Dad, just one more bid on HurlyAuctions.com.
If you haven't visited HurlyAuctions.com, you don't know what you're missing. Whether you're buying or selling, antique cars, tractors, boats, or real estate, you can do it all at HurlyAuctions.com.
Get to know Dr. Carrie Hesley at Diagnostic Imaging Services.
What I find most rewarding is caring for women through our Women's Imaging Center. We have a caring staff that will ease patients through an ultrasound, bone densitometry, breast biopsy, or mammogram. Our health team is sensitive to emotions involved in women's imaging and understands that every woman is at risk for breast cancer. Providing the community with a center that is so dedicated to breast health and the imaging needs of women is something special.
DIS Women's Imaging Center, providing women with progressive care.
Welcome to Contemporary Health Scene. Contemporary Health Scene focuses on the health issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Paul Sweeney, President of Quality First Insurance Agency, an agency specializing in senior health insurance. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Good morning, Michael.
You know, it's completely inextricable. Health and insurance go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, when people get any kind of medical care, the way our society is nowadays, you have to have medical insurance.
And so as we look at this sequence, people under 65, unless they're in the disability system, are not going to have Medicare. But as soon as a person reaches 65, there tends to be a whole sequence of choices that need to be made as they reach that age, and they become automatically eligible for Part A. But there's several other issues here.
Yeah, in today's society, the regular full Social Security benefit is not available until you reach full retirement age. And full retirement age is no longer 65, it's 66 in several months at this point. So many people are electing to work beyond age 65, and therefore it makes it possible for them to defer enrolling in Medicare Part B.
But they're getting Part A, but they may or may not use it depending on what their situation with an employer health insurance plan is.
Yeah, most people elect to stay with their employer-sponsored plan. They're allowed to do that. Not only that person, but also their spouse is allowed to stay in that plan. And when you do that, then there's no reason to enroll in Medicare Part B, even though you get Medicare Part A for free, but Medicare Part B can be deferred.
And the interesting thing is people here, well, you got to sign up for it, or there's a penalty or other types of issues associated with it, which is true unless you have an employer coverage that is replacing Part B.
It's one of those myths that many times people don't really understand the full aspects of it. If you're covered by an employer plan, you have every right to defer signing up for Medicare Part B. So you can do it when you reach full retirement age at 66, 67, or whatever you choose.
And one of the challenges here is that people who succumb to that pressure to enroll in Part B, when they didn't have to, they actually give up some rights that they had.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Medicare Part B is what triggers your open enrollment, which is a period of time that you can enroll in any Medigap plan, any Medicare supplement program without evidence of insurability.
It doesn't matter if you were in the hospital suffering from a terminal illness, you can still sign up and they can't ask any medical questions.
Correct. The problem is if you signed up for it when you turn 65, and then when you're 66, you decide that you're going to stop working.
You were stayed and covered by an employer plan, but you went ahead and paid the Part B premium. Your open enrollment period was triggered with paying that Part
right.
B.
You lost it. It's only one time that it happens. There are some things that protect you, but your choices are going to be limited. You're not going to be able to get any plan, and it's going to be for a much shorter period of time that you can make those choices.
And so we caution people. We hear the urban myths out there. It's one of the great challenges in our practice too, is you really need to get up that learning curve and find out what applies to you. And number one, if you're covered by an employer plan, you need to be careful about gratuitously signing up for other stuff that you don't need to. Now, a person enrolls in Part B. People are surprised to find out they have to deal with another election as well. What's that?
Well, when they sign up for Part B, that creates the open enrollment period, but Medicare does have a prescription drug benefit now. It's called Medicare Part D, as in David. And when you enroll in that particular plan, evidently CMS is what handles Medicare, and CMS does not communicate from Part B to Part D. So even though they understand that you're enrolling in Part B at a later time, they don't really get the message, I guess, that your Part D is going to be affected as well.
So it would be deferred if the employer had a prescription plan, just the same as the Part B was deferred. But sometimes you might get a nastygram from Medicare telling you, why didn't you enroll in Part D?
You'll get it either from Medicare or your Part D provider, and it will actually tell you that we may be assigning a penalty to you for signing up late. And there is a very simple fix to that. It's a little confusing sometimes for most people, but you just have to supply the proper documentation to the company and to CMS to let them know that you had drug coverage prior to that date.
Because they don't assign a penalty, only if you didn't have coverage and you were trying to game the system do they assign a penalty.
Yes, but they almost automatically assume that the penalty is going to apply to you, so that's not a good thing.
Well, Paul, if somebody wanted to need more help, how could they get help from you?
They could just call my office anytime they wanted. Literally, if you're not sure what you should be doing, just give my office a call, and within 5 minutes we'll be able to counsel you and let you know what to do.
Paul, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Thank you, Mike.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Albright, Crumbacker, Mal & Eitel are a full-service firm that provides elder care services including managing incoming bills, bill payment, depositing checks, balancing bank statements, and preparing, planning, and filing personal tax returns. Put your mind at ease and call us today.
Welcome to the Making Sense feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various financial issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Pete Alexander, a partner in the regional accounting firm of Albright, Crumbacker, Mal & Eitel with offices in Hagerstown, Martinsburg. Welcome to the show, Pete.
Great to be here, Mike.
Pete, over the years we've evolved one of our favorite methods of doing this segment, and we call it whack-a-mole, the old carnival game. And so we try to address the fact that no matter how many times you whack the mole, it still keeps sticking its head up. So let's start with number one, one-time sale of house.
Yeah, that was a law that was in place, we're probably going on 20 years ago. Sale of a personal residence is seldom taxed under current law. Under the old law, you had to buy another house, or you had to wait till you were 55 years old, and at age 55, you could exclude up to $125,000 of the gain.
And so you had to buy a more expensive house. Do you have to buy a more expensive house today?
You do not have to buy a more expensive house.
Do you have to buy a house at all?
You do not have to buy a house at all. A matter of fact, whether you buy a house or do not buy a house, your taxes do not change. Buying another house in no way affects when you sell a personal residence. So there's no provision, there's nothing buying another house will do. It won't help you, it won't hurt you. But there's no provision that buying another house when you sell your personal residence changes your tax structure at all.
And then, of course, we had that issue, the one-time tax exemption that you could get for the $125,000. Now, one time sounds like one time.
Yeah, one time you were allowed to sell your home if you were age 55 and over. If you did not buy another house, but you still had a gain, you could exclude $125,000 of that gain. That was a one-time exclusion. You were supposed to be able to use it one time after age 55 and be done.
And what does one time mean today?
One time means you can do this as many times as you want, and the $125,000 exclusion really doesn't exist anymore. It's a $250,000 exclusion for a single, $500,000 for a married couple.
Now, not $500,000 sales price.
$500,000 gain. So that means if you bought your house for $200,000, unless you sell it for over $500,000, as long as you meet some of the other rules, you can sell your house for a $500,000 gain, exclude that gain. One other thing we were talking about before, the $125,000 exclusion was available for those 55 years and over. Now it is available for any age. There is no 55 years magic window, no 65, no 70 and a half. None of that exists anymore.
And suppose you took advantage of the one time. Are you trapped now?
No, you can still take advantage of the new law.
So one time doesn't mean one time.
One time didn't mean one time back then, apparently. It certainly doesn't mean it now. The only stipulation is you must have lived in the house 2 out of the last 5 years.
So you moved out, you lived in it 2 years, you moved out, you're fine for 3 years.
You're fine for 3 years. And you can do it every 2 years as long as you meet that criteria. You can buy a house, have a gain, sell it, and go back in and buy another one. You can do this as many times as you want. I stress you do not have to wait till you're 55. Even if you don't meet the 2 out of 5 year exclusion, there is still a chance of averting tax on the gain. There's some stipulations in there for military, for work moves, for medical care. There's all sorts of stipulations. So in today's environment, you pretty much have to work at it to pay tax on this gain.
Middle class person almost certainly would not pay taxes.
No, you have to pretty much work at it for our average viewer out there.
And one of the problems that we have, and you and I deal with this every day, is all of this junk on the internet is not time-stamped, so you could actually have something on there that was right 20 years ago, but it's completely irrelevant
Well,
today.
It's not only stuff on the internet, it's people having conversations and giving advice because they did something 20 years ago. And because they did something 20 years ago, and this is what they were properly advised to do, they're giving that advice to other people today, but that advice is no longer current.
And one of the things we caution families about is many times when they enter the long-term care system, they are tempted to rent that parent's house in order to create income, which as an investor, I'll tell you, makes no sense to begin with. But they also don't realize they've started the clock running on the possibility that a house that could have been sold tax-free is now going to be taxable.
Yes, once you start renting that home, then you begin the 2 out of 5 year window. So if the parent had lived there for a couple years, you start renting it. 3 years from the date you start renting that home, you're no longer going to be eligible to exclude the gain.
And the bigger problem would have been is they bought that house 50 years ago. They only had $25,000, $50,000 in basis, and now they're giving up that gain by renting it.
Exactly. That's what the more common scenario certainly is.
Pete, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Great to be here, Mike.
Thank you from Contemporary Retirement.
Remember a more carefree time? Leave your insurance worries to us, Wright Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
These days, it seems like everything's online, and filling out claim forms and receiving and paying bills online isn't always easiest. That's why we at Quality First Insurance encourage you to just give us a call. Let us help.
Hi there, I'm Paul Sweeney with Quality First Insurance, and it's still just this simple. Our offices are open every weekday where you'll be able to call and speak to real, live people.
No detail was missed. I'm so glad that I turned to Quality First Insurance.
I've recommended Quality First Insurance to my friends who've been just as satisfied.
If you're not happy with what you're paying for Medigap, or more importantly, not happy with your service, give us a try. We're locally owned, and we take the time to provide you with the best. We are Quality First Insurance, and our mission is to provide quality products to quality people. Pick up the phone and give us a call today at 800-745-1411.